The Silent Vanguard. The command deck of the Corvellian flagship, Celestial Arbiter, hummed with quiet efficiency. Commander Ilara Voss stood before the vast observation window, her silver-flecked eyes reflecting the distant stars. Behind her, the bridge crew worked in hushed precision, the soft blue glow of their consoles casting elongated shadows across the polished floor. Commander, her first officer, Thale, approached with a data tablet in hand. His scaled skin shimmered under the ambient lighting. The anomaly readings have intensified. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. Ilara took the tablet, studying the puzzling readouts. This sector was supposed to be empty. Nothing but cosmic debris and radiation. The anomaly had first appeared 3 cycles ago, a ripple of energy from a region of space that had been classified as uninhabitable since the Great Purge. The Corvellian Alliance had maintained sensor outposts around the abandoned sector for centuries, but they had never detected anything unusual until now. Could it be natural? She asked, though she already suspected the answer. Thale's facial ridges contracted, the Corvellian equivalent of a frown. Science Division says no. The pattern is too regular, too precise. It bears the hallmarks of artificial technology. Ilara returned her gaze to the stars. The anomaly originated from what had once been the Sol system, a name that evoked discomfort among the older members of the Alliance. Few spoke of it openly, but every Corvellian knew the history. It was where they had fought their most brutal war, where they had destroyed a primitive but surprisingly formidable species called humans. Prepare a reconnaissance team, she decided. I want to see this anomaly for myself. 6 hours later, Ilara stood on the bridge of the Spectre, a stealth vessel designed for covert operations. They had jumped to the edge of the abandoned sector, maintaining a safe distance from the anomaly's epicenter. All systems running silent, reported the pilot, a young Corvellian named Vax. We're invisible to conventional scanners. Take us in, Ilara ordered. Minimum thrust. Let's not announce our presence. The Spectre glided forward, its advanced propulsion system leaving no energy wake. As they penetrated deeper into the sector, debris began to appear on their scanners. Fragments of ancient battle stations, the remnants of orbital platforms, and the twisted hulks of vessels from a war fought centuries ago. This is a graveyard, whispered Thale, standing beside Ilara. The final resting place of the human civilization. The humans had been a curiosity to the Alliance when first discovered, a species confined to a single planet, yet demonstrating remarkable technological progress. But their aggression and unpredictability had been deemed a threat. The Corvellian High Council had authorized their elimination before they could develop interstellar capabilities. The purge had been thorough, Earth reduced to a smoldering rock, its colonies in the solar system systematically destroyed. No survivors had been reported. The entire species erased. Commander, I'm detecting structural formations ahead, announced the sensor officer. They appear to be artificial constructs. Ilara leaned forward. Show me. The main view screen flickered, revealing a series of massive structures floating in the void. They were unlike any Corvellian architecture, angular yet fluid, seeming to bend the very light around them. They orbited the remains of what had once been Earth's moon, drawing energy from an unknown source. That's impossible, Thale whispered. There's nothing in the records about such structures. The records are 300 years old, Ilara reminded him, though she shared his disbelief. Scan for life signs. The sensor officer worked his console, then looked up with confusion. None detected, Commander. But there's something odd about the readings. The structures are. I don't know how to describe it. They seem to be both there and not there, as if they exist partially in another dimension. Phase technology, Ilara suggested. The Alliance had theorized about such capabilities, but had never successfully implemented them. Perhaps, but far beyond our understanding, the officer admitted. Ilara was about to order a closer approach when the communications array suddenly activated on its own. Every screen on the bridge flickered, then stabilized to display a single image, a symbol unknown to any of them. It resembled a spiraling helix, but with geometric patterns woven through it. Then came the voice, or rather, voices. A chorus of overlapping tones, speaking in perfect unison, their words crystal clear despite the lack of any detectable transmission source. "You have sealed your fate." The message repeated once, then the screens went dark. The bridge crew stared at each other in stunned silence. "What was that?" Thale finally asked, his voice barely audible. Before Ilara could respond, the sensor officer called out in alarm. "Commander, energy surge from the structures." The massive constructs had begun to pulse with blue light, rhythmic and deliberate. With each pulse, waves of energy rippled outward, bypassing the Spectre's shields as if they didn't exist. "Evasive maneuvers," Ilara commanded. "Get us out of here." The pilot's hands flew across his console, but the ship remained motionless. "Controls aren't responding. The propulsion system isn't acknowledging commands." Another voice emerged from the communications array, different from the first. This one was singular, cold, precise, and distinctly artificial. "Corvellian vessel identified. Genetic signatures cataloged. Returning to dormancy." As suddenly as it had begun, the energy pulses ceased. The structures faded, seeming to slip between dimensions until they vanished from sensors entirely. "They're gone," the sensor officer reported, bewildered. "No trace on any scanning band." Control of the Spectre returned as mysteriously as it had been taken. Ilara ordered an immediate jump back to Alliance space, her mind racing with implications. The structures, the technology, the message, none of it made sense unless... Could they have survived? Thale asked quietly, as if afraid to voice the question. The humans. Ilara had no answer, but a cold certainty settled in her chest. Something had survived the purge of Earth, something that had spent centuries evolving, advancing, and perhaps waiting. 3 days later, the Corvellian High Council convened an emergency session. Ilara stood before the 12 counselors, her formal military attire gleaming under the chamber's ceremonial lights. She had delivered her report in precise detail, omitting nothing of what they had witnessed. High Counselor Zev, the eldest of the 12, leaned forward in his seat. His age-whitened scales caught the light as he moved. "Commander Voss, are you suggesting that after 3 centuries, remnants of the human species have not only survived, but have developed technology beyond our comprehension?" "I present only what we observed, Counselor," Ilara replied carefully. "The structures we encountered were not Corvellian in design, nor did they match any known species in Alliance records." "This is preposterous," interrupted Counselor Mira, her voice sharp with dismissal. "The human extermination was absolute. Our forces bombarded their planet until its crust cracked. We destroyed every colony, every outpost. Nothing survived." "Then explain the message," Ilara challenged. "You have sealed your fate." Those were the exact words transmitted to our vessel. Who else would send such a message but those who believe we sealed their fate? The council chamber fell silent. The implications hung in the air like a physical presence. If, and I stress if, humans somehow survived. Counselor Zev said slowly, "Where have they been for 3 centuries? Why reveal themselves now?" As if in answer to his question, every communication device in the chamber activated simultaneously. Screens flickered to life, consoles illuminated unbidden. The same symbol that had appeared on the Spectre screens materialized before them. Then came a new message, broadcast not just to the council chamber, but to every Corvellian ship, colony, and outpost across Alliance space. "We were broken. We adapted. We evolved. And now, we return." The voice was the same harmonious chorus Ilara had heard before. As the message faded, alerts began pouring in from the outer reaches of Alliance territory. Sensor stations going dark, outposts losing contact, scout ships vanishing. Something had emerged from the shadows, and the Corvellian alliance stood on the precipice of a reckoning centuries in the making. Ghosts of the Fallen. The Corvellian High Council's emergency session had stretched into its fourth consecutive day. The chamber, once a symbol of order and authority, now buzzed with barely contained panic. Reports continued to flood in. 17 outposts gone silent, 32 scout vessels missing, and an entire defense platform in the Rigel sector simply vanished. "This is beyond infiltration," stated Admiral Corvo, his battle-scarred scales reflecting his agitation. "We're facing a coordinated assault by an enemy we can't even detect." Commander Ilara Voss stood at the tactical display, studying the pattern of disappearances. There was a precision to it, a calculated progression that suggested not rage, but strategy. "They're not just striking blindly," she observed. "They're systematically dismantling our early warning network, isolating us before the main attack." High Counselor Zev nodded grimly. "The question remains, how did they survive? Our historical records are clear. Earth was rendered uninhabitable. All human colonies were destroyed." Archivist Lauren, summoned from the Great Repository, stepped forward. Ancient even by Corvellian standards, his scales had faded to a pale blue-white. "Perhaps," he suggested, his voice thin with age, "we should examine what our records actually tell us, rather than what we believe they tell us." At his gesture, the central holographic display activated, showing footage from 3 centuries past. The Council watched as massive Corvellian warships descended upon a blue-green planet. Weapons fire rained down, searing the surface. Cities burned. Oceans boiled. The planet's very atmosphere ignited. The destruction was thorough, Archivist Lauren acknowledged. But humans were already venturing beyond their system when we discovered them. Small expeditions, primitive by our standards, but persistent. The display shifted to show human vessels, crude by comparison to Corvellian ships, but recognizable as early interstellar craft. "We intercepted most," Lauren continued, "but our records indicate several were never accounted for. The Council of that era deemed them irrelevant, a handful of ships carrying a few hundred humans, without the supplies or technology to establish viable colonies." Admiral Corvo scoffed. "A few hundred humans couldn't have built what Commander Voss described. The structures, the phase technology, it's impossible." "Is it?" challenged Ilara. "We know almost nothing about human adaptability. They evolved on a planet with extreme environmental variations. Their historical records, what we gathered before destroying them, showed remarkable resilience and technological acceleration." A soft tone interrupted the debate. Counselor Mira checked her communication device, her expression shifting from irritation to shock. "We're receiving a transmission from within this chamber." Every screen in the council room activated simultaneously. The spiral helix symbol appeared briefly, then resolved into a figure that caused several counselors to recoil in surprise. It appeared human, but only in the broadest sense. The figure stood tall, with a physical form that seemed to shimmer between solid matter and translucent energy. Its eyes glowed with an inner light, and patterns of luminescence traced across its skin like circuitry. "I am Nexus," the figure announced, its voice that same harmonious chorus they had heard before. "I speak for humanity." Admiral Corvo immediately called for security, but Ilara raised a hand to stay him. "Our chamber is sealed. Whatever this is, it's not physically present." "Correct, Commander Voss," the figure acknowledged. "I am projecting this representation across your communication network. Your encryption was quaint." High Counselor Zev rose to his feet, drawing himself up with the full dignity of his office. "What do you want?" "Understanding," replied Nexus. "Before judgment." The holographic display shifted, showing the devastation of Earth from a new perspective. From the ground, the Council watched through what seemed to be human eyes as their world burned around them. They heard screams, saw desperate attempts to escape, witnessed the collapse of an entire civilization. "This was our beginning," Nexus continued, "not our end. Those few ships your records failed to intercept carried something precious: our diversity, our adaptability, our refusal to submit to extinction. The display changed again, showing a distant star system beyond Corvellian explored space. A small fleet of damaged human vessels approached a harsh, barren world. We found refuge where nothing should have survived. We adapted. We evolved. We transcended. The images accelerated, spanning centuries in moments. Humans establishing underground colonies, generations born in extreme conditions, the gradual merging of biology and technology as they adapted to their new environment. Your attack forced an evolutionary leap we might never have attempted otherwise. When survival is the only imperative, innovation knows no ethical boundaries. The display showed humans willingly connecting themselves to machines, integrating artificial components with their biology. Later generations exhibited capabilities far beyond their ancestors, manipulating energy, communing with technology, in ways that bordered on the metaphysical. We became something new, neither fully organic nor artificial, but a synthesis that transcends both. Ilara studied the progression with scientific fascination and growing dread. You've mastered phase technology, the ability to shift between dimensional states. Among other things, confirmed Nexus, we observe you from the spaces between conventional reality. We studied your weaknesses while remaining invisible to your sensors. And now you've returned for revenge, stated Admiral Corvo bluntly. Nexus' expression remained impassive. Revenge is an organic impulse, rooted in emotion. We evolved beyond such limitations. We seek balance, correction. You destroyed our world. Now we will show you the true cost of that action. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the chamber. The Council's security chief burst in, his normally composed demeanor shattered. The homeworld defense grid has gone offline, he announced. All 6 orbital platforms just gone, and we're detecting massive energy signatures approaching the outer system. Nexus's projection observed their panic with clinical detachment. Your defensive capabilities have been neutralized. Your communication networks compromised. Your fleets isolated. This is not an invasion, Corvellians. This is a demonstration. High Counselor Zev faced the projection. Despite his fear, his voice remained steady. A demonstration of what? Of consequence, replied Nexus. For too long, the Corvellian alliance has expanded unchecked, eliminating any species deemed a potential threat. You passed judgment on humanity when we were young, before we had the chance to show what we might become. That error in judgment has now come full circle. On the tactical display, hundreds of objects appeared at the edge of the Corvellian home system. Vessels unlike any they had seen before, more energy than matter, slipping between dimensions as they approach. We will not destroy your homeworld as you destroyed ours, Nexus continued. That would merely continue the cycle. Instead, we will show you what you have awakened and what you must now live alongside. With those words, the projection vanished. The council chamber erupted into chaos as reports flooded in of unknown vessels appearing simultaneously throughout Alliance space, not attacking, merely watching. Commander Ilara Voss stared at the tactical display, understanding dawning with terrible clarity. This wasn't an invasion. It wasn't even war in any conventional sense. It was a species asserting its place in the cosmic order, a ghost returning to haunt those who had tried to vanish it. And the Corvellian alliance could do nothing but witness their new reality unfold. The Reckoning. 3 weeks after Nexus's appearance before the High Council, the Corvellian alliance found itself in an unprecedented state of paralysis. The human vessels, if they could even be called vessels, maintained their positions throughout Alliance space, never attacking, never communicating, merely observing with unsettling omnipresence. Commander Ilara Voss had been promoted to Admiral following Corvo's resignation, a position she had accepted with reluctance. Now she stood in the newly established Contact Division, a hastily converted military facility designed to study and communicate with the human presence. "They've neutralized our long-range weapons platforms," reported Thale, now her senior tactical officer. "Not destroyed. Neutralized. The platforms still exist, but their targeting systems and power cores have been altered somehow, rendered inert." Ilara nodded, unsurprised. "They're demonstrating control without destruction." Making a point, the chamber's main door slid open, admitting High Counselor Zev. Age and stress had taken their toll. His movements were slower than just weeks before, his scales duller. "Admiral," he acknowledged, "have you made any progress in establishing communication?" "They respond selectively," Ilara explained. "They answer technical questions about their capabilities, but ignore queries about their intentions or demands." "Perhaps because they've already stated their purpose," suggested a new voice. All heads turned to see a holographic projection forming. Not Nexus this time, but a different human figure. This one appeared female, her form less overtly technological than Nexus, but still clearly evolved beyond baseline humanity. Patterns of light pulsed beneath her translucent skin, and her eyes held the same inner luminescence. "I am Meridian," she introduced herself. "Like Nexus, I speak for the collective." Zev stepped forward, admirably composed despite the unexpected appearance. "We have been attempting to contact your collective for days." "Yes," Meridian acknowledged. "We were allowing you time to process your new circumstances." "And what exactly are those circumstances?" Ilara asked directly. "Your vessels surround our worlds. You've disabled our defenses, yet you haven't attacked. What is your objective?" Meridian's form shifted slightly, as if considering her response. "To establish equilibrium. For centuries, the Corvellian Alliance has expanded unchecked, eliminating potential competitors before they could evolve. That era has ended." The projection gestured, and the room's displays activated, showing star maps of Alliance territory. Key strategic positions were highlighted, each one now hosting a human vessel. "We have inserted ourselves into the foundation of your power structure," Meridian explained. "Your military, your economy, your governance, all now exist at our discretion." "You speak of equilibrium," Zev noted, "yet you describe complete dominance." "A temporary state," Meridian assured him, "necessary to ensure you understand the permanence of change. We have no interest in governing the Alliance or occupying your worlds. We seek only to ensure you never again possess the unilateral power to exterminate another species." Ilara studied the projection with scientific curiosity. "Your technology, your physical evolution, it's beyond anything we've encountered. How did you achieve so much in just 3 centuries? For the first time, Meridian's expression softened slightly. "Necessity, isolation, and a fundamental shift in perspective. When the survivors fled Earth, they carried more than genetic material. They carried the sum of human knowledge and a desperate will to endure. In our refuge, we were forced to discard old limitations, physical, technological, even philosophical. You merged with your technology," Ilara observed. "We transcended the boundary between organic and synthetic," Meridian corrected, "a process accelerated by extreme conditions. Each generation adapted further, until we became a singular consciousness distributed across individual nodes, what you would call people." Zev frowned. "You speak as if you're a hive mind." "Not in the sense you imply. We maintain individuality but share consciousness, experiencing both unique perspective and collective awareness simultaneously. It is difficult to explain in terms your neurology would comprehend." The display shifted again, showing human outposts scattered across regions of space the Alliance had never explored. Unlike Corvellian installations, these structures seemed to exist partially in phase space, visible yet ethereal, more energy than matter. While your Alliance expanded outward, we expanded inward, discovering dimensions of reality your sciences have barely theorized. We learn to step sideways from conventional space-time, to observe without being observed. Until now, noted Ilara. Why reveal yourselves after centuries of secrecy? Meridian's expression grew grave. Because your expansion reached a critical threshold. Analysis of your development trajectory indicated a 97% probability that within 50 years, you would have achieved technologies that might have detected our existence. We chose to reveal ourselves on our terms, rather than risk discovery on yours. The tactical implications weren't lost on Ilara. The humans had maintained perfect operational security, revealing themselves only when ready, on their terms. It was textbook strategic doctrine, executed with flawless patience. What happens now? Asked Zev, giving voice to the question dominating every Corvellian mind. Adaptation, replied Meridian simply. As we were forced to adapt to survive your aggression, you must now adapt to a universe where you are no longer the unchallenged power. Your society will continue. Your worlds remain your own, but you will do so in balance with others, including us. Ilara stepped closer to the projection, studying it intently. And if we refuse to accept these terms, if we resist? Meridian's form flickered slightly, her expression unchanged. That choice remains yours. But before you decide, we offer a demonstration of the alternative. Without warning, the entire facility plunged into darkness. When emergency power activated seconds later, the star maps had changed. A single Corvellian colony world, Vega Prime, population 12 million, had vanished from the display. What have you done? Demanded Zev, horror etched across his features. Vega Prime exists precisely as it did moments ago, Meridian assured him. But we have shifted it 90 degrees out of phase with conventional spacetime. It continues to orbit its sun. Its inhabitants continue their lives, but it now exists in a dimensional pocket you cannot reach or even detect with your technology. The implication struck Ilara like a physical blow. You can remove entire worlds from reality. We can adjust their relationship to dimensional space, Meridian corrected. Vega Prime will be returned to normal spacetime in exactly 24 hours, its population unharmed and unaware of the transition. This demonstration serves only to illustrate the futility of resistance. A heavy silence fell over the chamber as the Corvellians absorbed the magnitude of what they faced. Not merely superior technology, but a fundamental mastery of reality itself. You could have destroyed us at any time, Zev realized. From the moment you revealed yourselves, perhaps even before. Yes, confirmed Meridian. But destruction was never our goal. Humanity faced extinction and chose evolution instead. We offer the Alliance the same choice: evolve beyond your conquering nature or face obsolescence. With those words, Meridian's projection dissolved, leaving the Corvellians to contemplate a future fundamentally different from anything they had imagined. Their empire, built on military supremacy and technological dominance, now existed at the sufferance of a species they had once thought exterminated. As the High Council members departed to convene an emergency session, Ilara remained in the chamber, her mind racing with possibilities. The humans hadn't just survived extinction. They had transcended it, becoming something beyond conventional understanding. And in doing so, they had changed the course of galactic history forever. Evolution's edge. 1 year after the day that would come to be known as the Revelation, Admiral Ilara Voss stood on the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel Horizon. Through the transparent dome, she watched the approaching human installation, a massive structure that shimmered between states of matter, parts of it occasionally phasing into and out of conventional visibility. The Horizon had been specially constructed for this mission, incorporating elements of human phase technology freely shared with the Alliance in recent months. It was the first Corvellian vessel capable of approaching the human collective's primary hub without risking dimensional displacement. "We're receiving guidance coordinates," announced the pilot, his voice betraying a mixture of awe and apprehension. "They're opening a pathway for us." Before them, a section of seemingly empty space rippled and parted, revealing the slipstream of swirling energy. a dimensional corridor leading directly to the heart of the installation. "Proceed," Ilara ordered, maintaining her composure despite her own wonder. The horizon glided forward into the corridor. Through the observation dome, Ilara could see layers of reality folding around them, glimpses of parallel dimensional states flickering at the edges of perception. The journey lasted only minutes but traversed what conventional space would measure as several light years. When they emerged, the horizon had arrived at what the humans called the nexus point, the central node of their collective consciousness. The structure defied conventional description, existing simultaneously as physical architecture and pure energy, geometric precision, and fluid organicism. A reception area had been prepared, clearly designed to accommodate Corvellian physiology, a diplomatic courtesy that Ilara appreciated. As she and her small delegation disembarked, they were greeted by both Nexus and Meridian, the two human representatives they had come to know over the past year. "Welcome to our home," Nexus greeted them, his multi-layered voice now familiar to Ilara. "You honor us with your presence." The formality surprised her. Throughout the difficult months of negotiation, the humans had been clinically precise, even coldly logical. This display of traditional diplomatic protocol was unexpected. "The honor is ours," she replied, following the script that had been carefully crafted for this historic meeting. The Corvellian alliance comes in the spirit of new understanding. Behind her, the delegation included High Counselor Zev, now serving his final term before retirement, and Thale, recently appointed as ambassador to the human collective. Also present was Archivist Lauren, whose knowledge of pre-war human culture had proven invaluable during negotiations. "Please follow us," Meridian requested, leading them deeper into the structure. As they walked, the environment shifted subtly around them, adjusting to their presence. Surfaces solidified where Corvellian feet needed support, lighting adjusted to their visual spectrum, and the atmosphere balanced to their respiratory requirements. "Your ability to manipulate your environment at the quantum level is remarkable," noted Archivist Lauren, his scientific curiosity overcoming protocol. "A necessary adaptation," explained Nexus. "Our physical forms require different conditions than yours, existing partially in dimensional states your bodies cannot tolerate. This interface allows us to interact without barriers." They arrived at a chamber that seemed to expand infinitely in all directions, a space that somehow felt both intimate and vast. At its center floated a crystalline structure that pulsed with inner light, patterns flowing through it like living circuitry. "The collective core," Meridian introduced with reverence. "The focal point of our shared consciousness. We have never before allowed non-humans to approach it." The significance of the gesture wasn't lost on Ilara. This wasn't merely a diplomatic meeting. It was a fundamental shift in human policy, perhaps even a demonstration of trust. High Counselor Zev stepped forward, his aged form dignified despite his frailty. "On behalf of the Alliance, I express our profound gratitude for this opportunity. The treaty we signed today marks not just peace between our peoples, but a new chapter in galactic history." "Indeed," agreed Nexus, "though perhaps not in the way you imagine." Before Zev could respond, the collective core pulsed more intensely, projecting a holographic display that filled the chamber. It showed the galaxy in its entirety, with regions highlighted in different colors: Alliance territory in blue, human domains in gold, and unclaimed regions in neutral green. "What you see before you is the galaxy as it exists today," explained Meridian. "But what concerns us is its future." The display shifted, showing a time progression. As the simulation advanced, new colors appeared: purple regions expanding from beyond the galactic rim, red zones emerging from the core. "Other intelligences approach," Nexus stated simply. "Some evolved naturally, like your species and our original forms. Others artificially created, like what we have become. Some benevolent, others predatory, all advancing toward a confluence that will determine the future of all sentient life in this galaxy." Ilara studied the projection with growing concern. "You're showing us a future war. Multiple fronts, multiple species. Not necessarily war, corrected Meridian. Confluence, interaction, evolution. What form it takes depends on those present when it occurs. Why show us this now? Asked Thale. After a year of negotiations focused on our bilateral relations. The collective core pulsed again, and the holographic display zoomed in on a specific region, the boundary where Alliance and human territories met. In the simulation, these areas gradually shifted to a new color, a harmonious blending of blue and gold. Because the treaty we signed today is more than a peace agreement, Nexus explained. It is the foundation for something unprecedented, a true symbiosis between our civilizations. High Counselor Zev frowned. Symbiosis. The treaty establishes boundaries, technological exchange protocols, mutual defense provisions, standard diplomatic arrangements. The document, yes, agreed Meridian. But its implementation will lead to something more profound. Already, your scientists study our phase technology. Already, your philosophers contemplate our mode of collective consciousness. Evolution is not merely biological. It is cultural, technological, philosophical. Understanding dawned on Ilara. You're not just seeking peace with us. You're guiding us. Offering a path, corrected Nexus. One we discovered through necessity, but which you might travel by choice. The Corvellian capacity for adaptation may be different from humanity's, but it exists. You can evolve beyond what you are, toward what you have become. Asked Zev, skepticism evident in his tone. No, Meridian replied firmly. Toward what you could become. The path we traveled was shaped by trauma, desperation, and isolation. Yours need not be. With guidance, with cooperation, you could achieve synthesis without losing what makes Corvellians unique. The core pulsed again, and the holographic display shifted to show a new possibility. Corvellian forms enhanced not by merging with technology as humans had done, but by harmonizing with it. A different path to a similar destination. The threats approaching our galaxy will not discriminate between human and Corvellian, Nexus continued. They will see only potential resources or competitors. Divided, we face probable extinction. United, truly united beyond mere alliance, we represent something unprecedented in galactic history. Ilara found herself strangely moved by the vision presented. When the humans had first revealed themselves, she had expected vengeance, perhaps even extinction. Instead, they offered transcendence. Why? She asked simply. After what we did to your world, your species, why offer us elevation rather than subjugation? For the first time, both Nexus and Meridian displayed what appeared to be genuine emotion, a complex mixture of sadness, wisdom, and determination. Because we remember being human, Meridian answered softly. Despite our evolution, despite our transformation, we carry the memory of what humanity was, its potential for both terrible destruction and remarkable creation. In destroying Earth, you forced us to become something new, added Nexus. The pain of that transformation is embedded in our collective memory. We would not inflict such pain on others if a better path exists. High Counselor Zev considered this in silence for several moments. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the weight of centuries of